You know what our agreement was, Zach?
What?
If you tell me I'm lying to you, which you have the right to as my brother.
You don't got no paperwork, Wack. Stop it.
That's what you think, Zach?
Wack.
Okay, you know what you got to do when I send it to you, right? Here it comes. His daddy been a rat since 2009.
Stop it, Wack. Stop it, Wack. Yo,
okay. Hear what I just sent you.
Yo, where does Wack?
Listen,
This nigga said
that's
daddy
the full
been a
file.
rat.
I'm gonna send you.
Yo, Wack, stop it,
No,
bro.
I'm about to send you where he ratted. Listen, the nigga been a rat since 09. I'm sending you all the work. Pooh Shiesty was 8 or 9 years old, so this is his pop, live and direct. Now, listen, you know the exposures, we sit back because I'm a strong representation when it comes to Gucci.
All right, you know what our agreement was, Zach?
What?
If you say I'm lying to you, you still got the right as my brother. You don't have no paperwork. Whack. Stop it. That's what you think. Huh? Okay. You know what you gotta do when I did it to you, right? Here it comes. His daddy been a rat since 2009. Stop it. Stop it. Whack. Okay, here's what I just sent you. Yo, where daddy been? I'm about to send you. Yo, Whack, chill, bro. I'm literally about to send you where he allegedly ratted. Listen, the man been a rat since 09. I'm sending you all the proof. Pooh Shiesty was like 8 or 9 years old. So this is his father. Live and direct. Now, listen. You know the exposers we sit back and watch because I'm a strong representation when it comes to Gucci. The man known as Mob Boss just got exposed. And not by the streets, but by paperwork. Lantrell Williams Sr., father of Pooh Shiesty, has allegedly been sitting on a federal secret for over 15 years. While he was building a reputation as one of South Memphis's most respected street figures, and his son was rapping like he was untouchable, Mob Boss was allegedly giving information to the United States government. Real names, real details, real cooperation. The kind that can trigger a 5K1. One motion filed on your behalf. The kind that can reduce a sentence because prosecutors called your help substantial enough to reward. That's not just talk, that's what's reportedly in the documents. And the person who brought those documents out into the open, Whack 100. Love him or hate him, he came with paperwork. Now, here's where this gets even deeper than most people think. Because a lot of people saw the headline, Pooh Shiesty and his dad arrested for kidnapping and robbing Gucci Mane, and thought that was the whole story. But the real story is what Whack allegedly uncovered behind it. A 2007 federal case, a 2009 cooperation clause, and a plea deal that allegedly included ongoing assistance to the government with future cooperation. That means this wasn't just a one-time thing. That means the man Pooh called his first co-defendant in his own lyrics, the man he said showed him the lanes, was allegedly also working with federal prosecutors at the same time, for years. That's the real story. And it's bigger than any beef, arrest, or headline you've seen recently. Let me break it down properly, because to understand how all of this connects, you have to know who Lantrell Williams Sr. really is, or at least who he claimed to be. In South Memphis, the name Mob Boss carried serious weight. We're talking late 90s, early 2000s, running one of the hottest nightclubs in the City Club Martini. If you know, you know. Drug dealers, athletes, street figures, everyone passed through. This wasn't just a club. This was influence. This was power. Mob Boss basically stamped his presence in the city. Fast forward, he has a son, Lantrell Williams Jr., better known as Pooh Shiesty. The same Pooh Shiesty who linked with Gucci Mane, signed to 1017 records, dropped Back in Blood with Lil Durk, and went multi-platinum. The same Pooh who rapped about his father, calling him his first code, saying he showed him the lanes. On the surface, that sounds like legacy. That sounds like respect. That sounds like real street lineage. But here's where it gets complicated, because what Pooh didn't know, and what many people didn't know, is that Mob Boss was allegedly playing a very different game long before those lyrics ever existed. April 2026. Things are already heating up. During a call, Whack 100 drops something that shifts the entire conversation. He's not just talking about recent cases, he's going back further, digging into history. He alleges, with paperwork, that Lantrell Williams Sr. has been cooperating with federal authorities since at least 2009. That's not speculation. That's reportedly written in federal records tied to a 2007 case that led into 2009. Let me repeat that clearly. Mob boss, the man from South Memphis, the man tied to Pooh Shiesty's image, allegedly had documented dealings with federal prosecutors when Pooh was still in elementary school. And it doesn't stop there. According to WAC, the plea deal included language describing his cooperation as ongoing, with future cooperation expected. In federal terms, that kind of wording is serious. It implies continued assistance. It suggests the government still viewed him as useful. And that's where the 5K1 guideline comes in. For those unfamiliar, 5K1. 1 is the federal mechanism that allows a judge to go below mandatory minimum sentencing if the government confirms a defendant provided substantial assistance. In street translation, you only get that motion when you've given real information, real names, real cases. And allegedly, Mob Boss was in that category. Now think back to everything again. The image, the reputation, the legacy, the lyrics, and then think about what the paperwork is suggesting underneath it all. Now people started connecting dots, and suddenly things started to look different. Back in 2020, Pooh Shiesty was hit with a serious shooting case in Florida, involving multiple charges and federal attention. He eventually took a plea deal, 1 count, 63 months, while other charges, including a potential life sentence count, were dropped. At the time, WAC 100 publicly suggested Pooh had cooperated. His lawyers strongly denied it, saying no cooperation agreement existed and no co-defendants were given up. Pooh himself also denied it, explaining legal distinctions around proffers and cooperation. Now, whether that specific claim is right or wrong, that part has been heavily disputed. But what's interesting is the direction WAC was pointing toward all along. He wasn't just focused on Pooh, he was circling the family, suggesting there was more beneath the surface than people realized. And now, with the alleged paperwork tied to Mob Boss showing a 5K1 motion history and cooperation language, people are reevaluating everything they thought they knew. Then there's Pooh Shiesty's own music. In his track FDO, after his release in 2025, he raps about his father being his first code and showing him the streets. Those lyrics hit differently now because, in real life, both father and son are now reportedly tied as co-defendants in a federal kidnapping case. And that brings us to the current situation. January 10th, 2026. 3 music industry professionals travel to Dallas, Texas. They believe they're heading to a business meeting about Pooh Shiesty's recording contract with Gucci Mane's 1017 label. But according to federal allegations, it wasn't just a meeting. Pooh Shiesty and 8 other men, including rapper Big 30, are accused of turning that situation into a violent robbery. Allegedly, weapons were involved, including an AK-style pistol. Victims were allegedly forced under pressure to sign documents, while valuables like watches, jewelry, and cash were taken. One victim was reportedly choked during the incident. 9 people now face serious federal charges, kidnapping and robbery, carrying the possibility of life sentences.
The feds confirmed that Gucci Mane, Roderick Davis, identified Pooh Shiesty as the man who robbed him. Gucci Mane identified Pooh Shiesty, pointed a gun to his head.
And the DOJ says Lantrell Williams Sr., known as Mob Boss, allegedly helped plan and carry out the entire situation. Now here's the irony the internet can't stop talking about. Gucci Mane, identified in the federal complaint by his initials RD, is the one who cooperated with the DOJ in this case. He identified Pooh Shiesty and Big 30 as the people involved. He described exactly what Pooh was wearing. He gave authorities detailed information that helped build the case. Right after that, people started digging up an old Gucci Mane Instagram Live where he basically said, paraphrasing, that he doesn't believe in telling police and lives strictly by street rules. And suddenly, the internet flipped it into a whole new conversation. Old clip, new context, completely different reaction. But here's where my take stays grounded, and some people may not like it. There's a real difference between street situations and a controlled studio business meeting where armed men allegedly take over the room and force people under threat. Those are not the same category. That's not a rivalry. That's not street politics. That's a serious criminal incident in a professional setting. So the real discussion shouldn't just be, did Gucci cooperate or not? The bigger question what WAC 100 is really pointing toward is who in this entire situation has a longer, documented history of federal cooperation. And according to the alleged paperwork, that focus shifts toward Mob Boss. The internet did not ignore this at all. Pooh Shiesty's last Instagram post before his arrest showed his new luxury Mercedes. The caption celebrated his recent music success. After the arrest news broke, fans flooded the comments, some saying, "Free him," others breaking down lyrics, and many just expressing shock. Because this is a man who already served over 5 years in federal prison, got released in October 2025, and then just months later found himself back in federal custody facing life-level charges, allegedly while still under federal supervision and re-entry conditions. And now his father, Mob Boss, is sitting beside him in the same legal storm with a federal history that reportedly stretches back years before Pooh's rap career even started. WAC 100's conversation with academics spread everywhere. Social media went into full investigation mode. People debated the paperwork, debated what 5K1 really means, and tried to connect old incidents, including the alleged shooting involving Mob Boss's family. Meanwhile, Bradford Cohen, Pooh Shiesty's attorney, pushed back strongly again, maintaining his client's innocence and challenging the narrative being circulated. But paperwork doesn't argue. Federal filings don't debate online. Either that 5K1 language exists in those documents, or it doesn't. And according to WAC 100, it does. Zooming out, this story is no longer just about Pooh Shiesty, Mob Boss, or Gucci Mane. It's about the image hip-hop builds and what happens when that image collides with federal reality. Pooh Shiesty built his identity on authenticity, on South Memphis roots, and on his father being part of that. Mob Boss wasn't just a name, it was part of the brand, part of the story. And now, the uncomfortable question is whether that foundation was ever as solid as it appeared, or whether part of it was happening in two worlds at once. If the allegations are true, Mob Boss was cooperating with federal authorities as far back as 2009, while simultaneously shaping the environment his son grew up in. That raises bigger questions about identity, legacy, and the stories artists build around where they come from. No one here is making final judgments. Courts will decide what is proven and what isn't. WAC 100's claims are still being debated. But the conversation this has triggered in hip-hop is already undeniable. It forces a deeper look at authenticity, at street mythology, and at how quickly those narratives can shift when paperwork enters the picture. Right now, 9 people are charged. Federal kidnapping, federal robbery. Pooh Shiesty and Mob Boss are both in custody. The case is active, and if convicted, the exposure is serious potential life sentences in the federal system. No parole, no early release, the same way people imagine it. And layered underneath all of that is still WAC 100's central claim. A 2007 federal case, a 2009 cooperation clause, a 5K1 motion, and ongoing assistance language that keeps raising questions the internet can't stop discussing. So the conversation now is simple but heavy. Can Pooh Shiesty separate his legacy from what's being alleged about his father? Or is everything built around that story now being re-examined from the ground up? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Stay tuned, because this case is still developing, and every new filing is only adding more layers to an already complicated story.